Hey everyone, name's Paul. This is a video build journal for a 40-gallon breeder vertical conversion tank. Let's get this thing started. In the interest of time, the video has been sped up or we'd be here all stinking day. I start each build with an idea of how I want it to look once it's complete. This one becomes real apparent early on that it's just not going to work, so I have to start changing the design and rethinking things as I go. Here I'm going to show a little brief demonstration of how I cut this egg crate. Where my index finger is where I want it to be. So I cut along the horizontal line above my finger. I do this so that I can break off the rest with my fingers like I'm getting ready to show here. There you go. Breaking those things off. Super simple, super easy. It's not rocket science. This is pretty much a rough shape of what I'm going to start with. I'm going for a sloped edge down into the water. In previous builds I've done just kind of a straight drop, but I wanted to try something a little bit different this time. So right now I'm just kind of looking at it, moving the angle of it a little bit, trying to see how steep I want this slope to be. It got caught in the tank there, so I kind of was able to let my hand go and look at it without my big ugly mitts being in the way. Alright, the next step is to brace this so that it'll stand on its own. The bracing that I'm doing is temporary. I do a stick build of my tanks before I go through and kind of put the more permanent supports in, get everything securely put together in the final position. So right now I've got a scrap piece of egg crate. I keep a lot of scrap pieces of the egg crate just so I don't have to waste any good pieces making little stupid supports like this. So just going to cut on this, get a support made. Really just trying to hold that angle where it's at so that I can put some other pieces up next to it and keep looking for how the shape of this build's going to be. Once I'm moderately happy with how a piece looks, then I'll grab another piece of scrap and duplicate it when I need to, like I'm doing right now. Always good to use a template when you can to repeat your success of previous attempts. I'm going to get this done and I'll get it all put underneath that piece of egg crate there in the tank, and then we'll go on from there. Almost instantly, as soon as I get the second support in, I look at it, I realize that slope is just too steep. So I cut everything short. Boom, short. Power of editing. So now the slope is more to my liking. I edited it out, but the supports kept falling out every time I touched it, so I grabbed some zip ties. Zip ties are cheap. I use them as often as I can. I'm not afraid to put a bunch on and then cut a bunch and put them in the trash. So I'm just working on getting this first support in there so that it's got that same slope that I liked before, and get that one secured, and then I'll move on to the second one, get that one secured in place, and then we'll be ready to take a look at this and see where it can go from here. We'll take the opportunity while I'm zip tying all this to say that it is incredibly important and valuable at this point in the build to be taking your time. Don't try to rush through it. If you get the skeleton of the tank done and done right the way you like it, then the rest of the tank is going to look good. But the most important thing when doing a terrarium and laying it out and doing custom background and false bottom is to just take your time, be patient. Don't try to rush to the end of it. You'll almost always regret it when you rush. Just to give you an idea, this little 13-minute video is probably 4 hours of footage and work that I edited down and sped up to make it a watchable video. But just take your time. Hey, zip ties are done finally. After looking at it, realized that I wanted that slope on the other side of the tank. So boom, on the other side of the tank. Reason being is the right side of the tank is visible, so I'm going to hide all my pumps and heaters and stuff under the false bottom on that side, and I'll leave a little window over there so that I can check the filter, check the aquatic heater, make sure everything's working and looking good. Here I'm getting a piece ready to do the front edge of that little slope down into the water. Right now, my idea is to have it sloped on the front side and that front left corner, and then the rest of it will be flat land. So I'm just trimming this up, getting it to the length. Another thing that I should note here is, and you'll see it, and you've probably already noticed, that I'll cut things and then they'll be too long and I'll trim them. I do that on purpose. It's so I don't waste egg crate. Stuff's not expensive, but it's not, free. So I try to keep the cost of my builds down as much as possible. So I would rather spend an extra 10 or 15 minutes on a piece cutting it and trimming it to get it to fit right than to cut it too short and have another awesome piece of scrap that I might be able to use later. So here I'm just got it cut to the length I want. I'm just laying it in there. The zip tie legs were driving me crazy, so I was just cutting those off of that first piece. It wasn't letting this piece lay flat. So I'll lay it down. It needs an angle cut on the left side of it. So I'll get it laid in here, and then I'll get my little handy dandy Sharpie there and do a rough trace of the angle it needs to be. It's not exact. I don't try to make it exact here. I'm just trying to cut a majority of the excess off. But I will leave it long so that I can lay it in there and then do some little spot trimming to make it lay in there as flush as possible. It's a little bit more effort to do it this way up front, but it'll save you time and material later by taking your time on these cuts and making sure that you get them right the first go round, as opposed to cutting them and putting it in there and then throwing a piece of egg crate on the floor and getting another one and trying again. So you can see, just cut that little off. It's super, super amazing. All right, I'll lay it in there. See, it's still a little long. That's fine. That's what I want. So I'm gonna just looking at it. Gonna move some things around here for a second. Maybe I want it to be longer. So I'm just checking before I do any more cutting. Trying to decide if I want the bottom of those slopes to end at the front edge of the tank or not, or if I want it to be further back so that I have some more flat land in the aquatic section. I ended up settling on it being up against the edge of the tank, merely because I wanted as much available land space for the frogs as and plants as I could. So the little inch or two isn't a whole lot, but it'll make somewhat of a difference later. And here I am marking up the next cuts. I don't always make marks for the second cuts, but these angles give me some problems just because the egg crate doesn't cut at an angle very cleanly. So I decided to mark it just to give me a point of reference once I pull the piece out of the tank to start cutting. So I'll trim on it a little bit, and then I think after this round of trimming, it fits in there just about perfect. And we can press on. There's me demonstrating cutting at the angle. Again, it's not hard. I'm not doing anything that anyone else couldn't do if they wanted to go buy some egg crate light diffuser and start cutting on it with side cutters for any random reason. I should also add, everyone in the hobby, we always refer to this as egg crate. It's a light diffuser panel. You get it at big box hardware stores backed by the drop ceiling stuff. It's a light panel to go over fluorescent lights and a drop ceiling. All right, so there you go. It's in place. Right, sweet. I'm not going to do any supports on this one just yet. I edited it out. I fought and fought and fought to build a brace to hold this up, and then decided that a zip tie to the piece I already had stable was going to be good enough for now. I'll fashion a brace for this in the final build, but since I'm just stick building this together right now, I'm not super concerned. So now I'm looking for a little piece of scrap. I'm going to put a wall on the left side of that front ramp. Well, I guess I was looking for another zip tie. So I was showing if you kink the zip tie, it'll loop itself through holes and tight spaces like that, so you don't have to reach your hand behind it. Again, it's not complicated. So I got a little piece of scrap here. Just gonna place it right there to create a wall to keep the frogs from getting in underneath the false bottom. I want the slope edge to end right there, so I'm just gonna zip tie that to the side of this. It's not pretty. It's not a permanent solution, but it's the stick build solution. I think I do this last zip tie and then get ready to start cutting the top piece of this false bottom. Alright, so here I am just kind of doing some last second fussing with the what I currently have while I get this last zip tie in. It's, you know, this is the time where you can tweak, push things around. The zip ties I don't have on there tight, so I can still move the pieces around a little bit. I mean, not real easy, but a little bit. I did a little snip there to push that more flush, it looked like. I don't remember. Well, yeah, I'm just, you know, making sure I'm happy with how this is coming. It's, after all, I mean, you can't be wrong when you're creating something, so whatever I do is going to be the way it was meant to be. Here's a quick side view. I slowed this down. I just wanted to show here where my hand is. That's the projected water line I'm going for. So a lot of that's going to be underwater. I also wanted to show, you know, what the slope looked like from the side. Here I am, tape measure out, measuring for the false bottom. I edited the cutting and prepping of the piece I have in there now because, you know, it's boring. It's boring watching me sit there cutting it great. So here I am. I got it in there. You know, of course, I cut it. One, I cut it big, and two, I've got to cut out this little triangle that I've created over here on the left side, so that it looks like it, you know. So it looks right. So it looks the way I want it to. So I'm going to cut this out so it sets in behind or on top of this this slope perfectly. Right, here I show where I drew on egg crate with a Sharpie. I'm a genius. So I'm going to cut this triangle out. Make sure that I, you know, don't screw it up. I have a point where the line isn't clear, so I put it back in the tank so I can look again, make sure I'm cutting it at the right spot, and yeah, cut it out. Look everyone, I cut a triangle out of a rectangle. I'm a genius. Alright, so, you know, doing a test fit, see if I need to do any trimming, and it actually fit really good the first time, so yeah, that's it. That's going to conclude part 1 of this build. Part 2 will be coming soon. Thanks for watching. See ya.